Today, I would like to talk just a little bit about tooling for product managers, these platforms that help you capture roadmaps and so forth. It's not because I'm particularly passionate about it. I don't have a strong opinion about one tool over the other, but I've been pulled into this tooling discussion a lot in the last 18 months and thought I would just share more at the meta level what I've learned. So one of my first insights was, why do we have all these platforms just for product managers? There's Jira and all these other tools that support implementation. And what I learned is, conceptually, even in an agile organization, there are phases where you're spending more time planning and then phases where you're spending more time executing. And you have some different audiences, some different requirements. So having this platform that serves PMs, acts as a repository for roadmaps, allows you to map them to strategy and get them validated with stakeholders, is not the worst idea ever. What you need though, whatever platform you pick, is this integration between this kind of PM planning tool and this more engineering focused execution tool. And this may seem obvious, but I see a bunch of organizations trip over it constantly. And that is, a tool is not going to save you. It will just add to the complexity. Before you decide on the tool, you need to understand the process that you want to follow. How do you want to build a roadmap? How do you want to manage requirements at a high level, or whatever that is? And you need to understand your specific requirements. And then pick a tool that supports those. Because just kind of picking the most popular tool and hoping you can adapt it to your needs can turn out to be a very frustrating experience. And I think that's another general point that folks with a lot of gray hair like me have learned is, you're going to have to probably compromise on your processes a little bit to fit the tool. You're going to customize the tool to fit your processes, but you really have to limit that effort. You are not in the business of customizing these product management tools. So be careful that you don't go down a rat hole. And I would say, take time to make a decision. Resist the urge to just buy something, to go with something. Because these things are really sticky. Once you get content in them, it's really a lot of work to migrate once you teach everybody to use it. And that's not just product managers. Changing horses is really expensive, time consuming, and can be super frustrating. So I know a company that picked one tool and several months later decided to change to another tool, and that is not looking good. That is not a good look for leadership whatsoever. The other piece of advice I would give you is that in the early days of the tool, pick somebody who understands product management to help get it set up, help define those processes and express those processes through the tool. Resist the urge to take some operations person who has some extra time or whatever. You're going to have to invest in it, and the early days are really important. If you're a product manager, I would tell you, when your organization adopts these tools, you should be willing to give feedback and help improve them. But I would be very careful about taking responsibility for them, especially in the early days. It's a lot of effort. So maybe the theme there is that adopting these things is really a lot of effort, and you should think about that before you buy it, and make sure you have the bandwidth, especially in the early days, to have somebody working with this thing who understands processes in your organization from a product perspective, can customize it and those things. And then maybe this is really the last thing. A pattern I've seen is companies invest in these tools. They're not cheap necessarily. And now there's all this manufactured urgency to get every roadmap, every requirement, every bit of user feedback into these things tomorrow. Well, you've spent years without this thing, probably without that rigor and without this central repository. It's stressful enough. It's difficult enough. Don't invent urgency. So when you buy one, make sure you have a planning period that's reasonably, so you can adapt, grow, and get productive use out of it. I hope this was helpful.